All right, so Coach, how did you think that this cycle went for you guys?
Really well. I'm excited. You know, college football this day and age is controlled by your ability to dominate the front. And I think when you look at the guys we were able to get, both as interior guys, defensive ends, defensive tackles, noses, those kind of things, as well as our outside backers, I think that's going to allow us to continue to develop guys and be a dominant front team, because really that's where college football is won and lost. And then I think when you look at the secondary, we got some guys that have some versatility. You know, with tempo today, your safeties have to do a lot of things, and I think these guys will allow us to be flexible in our scheme. You know, my thing is always you basically take athletes and you let them grow into the position that fits their body, and then you find ways to utilize them. So, you know, with those guys, we'll continue to work, develop them, and just kind of see how they fit. But the biggest thing is being able to control the front, and then having guys that have some length and size to them in the back end that have the ability to tackle in space, but they can do more than one thing.
You always talk about versatility. I mean, who specifically are you most excited to see, you know, once you get on the practice field, to see if they can do multiple things for you?
Truthfully, we're going to do that with all of our guys. I mean, you can look at Tabarius Peterson, Tobias Little, you know, Gary McCray, London, you know, Iacopo coming in from junior college, you know, all of those guys. I mean, we're going to look at all the safeties, you know, all those guys, and just see what they can do for us, because you know, defense is about athletes making plays, finding ways to get guys in matchups one-on-one, and also looking at a guy's ceiling for what he can, you know, improve. For example, Mike Boykin's a guy that, you know, right now he's 6'6", 255, but with our strength staff and, you know, our nutritionists, I can see him being 290 pretty easily one day. And he can play a lot of things, you know, across the line. So really excited with the guys we have. Look forward to working with them in the summer.
You only got one corner. Are you going to talk to Coach Petrino about trying to get one of those receivers on your side of the ball?
Not really. I mean, you know, we'll kind of see how it funnels through. You know, with Ronald coming in mid-year, you got to look at him. And we really don't lose anybody from last year. So, you know, we'll stay with the guys that we have, see how Ronald fits in there, and, you know, play it by ear.
Of course, you look to fill in some holes when guys leave and that sort of thing, but what sort of like overall theme do you like about this recruiting class? What do they really bring?
Well, I think, first of all, there's versatility in what they're doing. Like I said, we have some front guys that have a ceiling to grow and get bigger. We also have some guys that can play multiple things up front from a defensive line or outside linebacker standpoint. And then when you look at the secondary guys that we've got, you've got guys that are in the 210-pound range, that some of those guys, you know, 3 years from now could be like Burgess, you know, 230, 35 pounds. And then you got guys that can come in right now and play the safety position. So I think that the biggest thing you look for is your ability to develop guys, what kind of ceiling they have on their body from the measurables that you have, and you just try to plug guys in and get your best athletes on the field.
You sort of just touched on it. You sort of just touched on how ready are those new guys going to be to immediately plug in? Are you going to?
Well, we'll find out. You know, for example, a guy like Gary McCray, you know, Devontae came in last year and played for us immediately. And anytime we have a junior college guy like London or Gary, we're going to work to get those guys on the field immediately and see what they can do. As far as the other guys, you know, each case is a little bit individual based. And the good thing is now with the way that college football is, as coaches, we're allowed to work with them in the summer. So when our guys come in June, we're allowed to do some things with them June and July. So that way August is not the first time they've seen us, heard us, and that gives guys a better chance to play as freshmen.
Trevon Young's injury, did that kind of accelerate the need for Gary McCray?
Not really. I mean, when you look at us, I mean, we won 8 of our last 10 ball games. We fully expect to continue to compete for a championship here. And to do that, that means we got to close games out in the fourth quarter. Well, if you're going to close games out, that means you've got to rush the passer. So we're going to find ways to get guys on the field that can rush the passer. For example, James Hearns is a guy, and even Trevon Young is a guy that at times last year we actually moved them inside and rushed on obvious passing situations. So anytime you can get guys that can come off the edge and beat guys in pass rush, we're going to find ways to get them on the field or get them in our class.
How did things come about with Gary over the last year or so?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, we offered him last year, and we recruited him last year, and then he chose to go to the University of Georgia and did not qualify, and then he actually went ahead and enrolled last spring. So therefore, he's going to be able to get his degree this coming June, and graduate and move on. So, really just the communication through the coaches down there, understanding his situation, and with where he was as far as wanting to go to a 4-year school immediately. I'd been recruiting for a little bit. I felt like that situation was one that we kind of had to keep under the radar from a standpoint of, to me, he could play for anybody in the country, and I think we're fortunate to be able to get him to come to our place, and we're certainly excited to, mesh him with Trayvon, with Devontae, Hearns, Jonathan, all those guys, and let those guys compete. So, it really came through the communication of coaches, honestly.
What do you kind of think of maybe the importance of having a guy who can tackle and hit like Keepo?
Yeah, I think first of all, when you look at safeties, you want to have guys that are versatile athletes. You want to have guys that have range to the ball carrier, meaning they can close to the near hip of the guy and take away the space and get guys down. So you've got to be able to tackle in space. Your safeties have also got to be versatile in the sense that they can drop in the box and almost play like a linebacker per se, because of all the spread offenses that you see, and because of all the movements and motions, you can spin those guys relative to the formation to allow you to get guys lined up. So anytime you can get guys that are in that 210-pound range, first of all, being in high school at that weight, and you got guys that have length to them, they have a big frame to them, those guys can be 235, 40 pounds one day too. So your projection on those guys is that they could grow into something else. But right now, because of their athletic ability, that's what they're playing in high school. So, we're going to start all those guys out at safety. We're going to let them compete and find ways to get the best tacklers on the field.